Friends, you just came back from the table and you could see it in the look in your spouse or partner's face. They know. They know. You know what I'm talking about. They know, right? You're not Top Gun anymore. All you're shooting is blanks because you're not going to be taking another shot for quite a while because all the trust is gone. The bullet of or protection of truth is gone because you just got caught lying. Not just a white lie. There's white lies are inexcusable to begin with, but that'll be another video topic. But bigger lies, obviously the inexcusable ones that you just got busted and you could tell just by the look in their eyes and their face. And I know the look in your face, deer in headlights. You could hear the sirens. You feel dread. You become pale. It's hard to sit. You probably don't even feel your own legs, but you're sitting there. Your hands might even be shaking. It might feel like there's a spotlight on you now because the interrogation has just begun. And with this interrogation, there's no way out. You know you're guilty. There's no get out of jail free card. It's your comeuppance. And now you're in a position where you're going to be tempted to deny. You're going to be tempted to gaslight. You're going to be tempted to lie. You're going to be tempted to blame. I encourage you not to do that. This isn't like a cop show where you need to plead the fifth. I'm not going to say anything and then I'm going to get away with this and I'm not going to be found guilty. No, you're caught red-handed. The cat's out of the bag, can't put it back in. So when you're under this spotlight, I encourage you to tell the truth, especially about facts, what the behavior is, what you've done, when, how. I would also encourage you to tell the truth of the mixed feelings you probably have, even though the person who just caught you may not believe it. I'm assuming you had some mixed feelings about it. Otherwise, why keep it secret? If you had no mixed feelings about it and thought you're totally in the right in having a secret relationship with someone else and justified in doing it, and if that's your truth, then just say that truth because it makes it easier because the relationship will end. And then you could be free to go be with that other person. You don't have to carry multiple partners around, especially a partner that had no idea you were with another. But I suspect that there was some sort of mixed emotion involved, whether it was to try and safeguard them, whether it was trying to sort out your own experience. But if your truth is quite simply, this is your way of getting out, then be compassionate. Tell the person, look, I did this. It wasn't personal. I just didn't have the emotional maturity or the courage or the thoughtfulness or the sense of care and respect to just end the relationship clean. I needed to do something harmful so that you would be so offended that you would be okay with leaving me. So you would be okay with leaving me. Here's like some of the narcissism in that statement. So you would be okay with leaving me as if you're like the best thing in the world, as if you're Maverick. But the reality is that's not the case. Sure, someone could love you, but they might love you unconditionally. They might not ever cheat on you. They might not ever betray you, whether it's a relationship ending because of separation, divorce, or breakup, or just the reality of life, death. Let's say you're going to die first. Would you assume your partner was going to die the next day? Probably not. I assume, especially if you're in this kind of dynamic, your partner will be rather liberated. So when you're caught, I encourage you to tell the truth, to try and answer their questions. You'll discover that the questions can become repetitive. It might be better for you to slow it down and start possibly writing it. Or when it becomes too repetitive, to slow it down and say, hey, can we talk about this later? Can we talk about this some other time? When you get caught, it doesn't mean you now deserve to be beaten or abused or allow your property to get damaged. No, that's not acceptable behavior that you should allow. The punishment for you is going to be something different. Either it's going to be a loss of a relationship in that moment in time or sometime thereafter, or it's going to be many difficult conversations over the course of months, possibly years, or it's going to be financial costs, possibly tied to separation, or financial costs tied to repair, which would be therapy, whether it's couples counseling or individual counseling to get to the bottom of what just happened. It's presented as a type of punishment, but really what it is a coming to self moment or reality that you're now going to have to face, facing the truth of your own deceitfulness or your own selfishness or your own cowardice by withholding the truth. Not everyone wants to face the consequences of shameful actions. And I totally understand that. But what we're talking about here is, I'm assuming this isn't just like a one off scenario, but even if it is, that's bad as it is. But just living a life of lies, like trying to present yourself in a way that you aren't actually. In other words, being a fraud to yourself and being a fraud in relationships. Now, that's an important thing to fix for yourself in life. So even though you got caught, it's an opportunity to stop being a fraud, to stop pretending, to stop carrying multiple realities. It's important to choose a path. It's a fork in the road for you. And there's light one way and darkness the other. Obviously, the way of truth leads to light. It doesn't mean that it's a path of no suffering or relationship repairs or trust or respect in this moment in time. But it's certainly the starting point. Or you could choose the other path, which is the path that you've already been living, which is lying, deceitfulness, blaming, shutting down and not providing any information. I can understand not wanting to have a 12-hour fight where fatigue may set in, but can you at least agree to tell some truth and then say, let's continue this tomorrow because it's important and you matter? And that, yes, I did things that are terrible, but now I'm here for you to tell you the truth, which is actually a way of helping me as well. But it's also benefiting you because you need to make decisions based on the truthfulness of what's been happening in our lives. Now, professionally, this is something that I recommend doing in one conversation, usually written, very thought out, and very factually rooted. So there isn't the confusion or manipulation. So I like to slow it down professionally. But if this is where you're at, day after Valentine's Day, or this could just be any day of this calendar year, truthfulness is useful always. It's not a lie that the truth sets you free.